guys, and welcome back to the vlog channel. Today I'm going to do a sit down video and I'm going to be telling you guys my labor and delivery story. And as you can see, my son is just chilling in his chair in the back. He'll probably move at some point and go play with some toys, but so yeah, I'm here to give you my labor and delivery story, how it all went. Overall, I'd say that my labor was pretty fast and easy compared to some of the stories that I have watched or listened to. So I'm very thankful for that. Where should we begin? Probably at the beginning. So let's start with Tuesday. Oh, hello. So I'm gonna put my phone in here so he doesn't get it. July 3rd was his due date, July 3rd, 2018. And it also happened to be the exact day that I had my 40-week appointment. So I went in for my 40-week appointment. There was still no like contractions. I wasn't having any contractions whatsoever. Everything looked good. She checked Oliver's heartbeat and then she checked me for dilation. And I think, if I remember right, I think I was at a 1.5. She was surprised on how fast I was, not dilating, but how fast I was effaced, or how fast I got effaced. Because I was already, I want to say 50% effaced. We were talking over the birth plan, essentially. I didn't really have a birth plan. I just told her that I would like to do all natural. Obviously, I didn't want a C-section, but I told her whatever happens, happens. Like, I'm not gonna refuse like a C-section if, you know, it's absolutely needed. So, that being said, she told me I'm going to be leaving this weekend. I think it was like Friday that she like left. So this was a Tuesday and she was going to be leaving Friday. I told her, I was like, I don't really want another doctor delivering Oliver because you are my OB and I've developed a relationship with you and I trust you. She said, so do you want to wait for your body to go into labor or do you want to try to be induced? I told her, let's try the induction, which going back now, if I were having him right now, I totally would not have picked that. I totally would have waited for my body to go into labor. I did not want to be induced, but I chose it anyway. Part of it was I was done. I wanted the baby out. So she said, okay, well, we'll set you up for an induction tomorrow. Be at the hospital by 8 p.m. I was like, okay. Well, I signed all the papers. Hello. Hey. No. I'm sorry. The induction was set up for the next day and I left my appointment. I was on my way, carried on with my day. The next day rolls around. I'm starting to get super nervous because, you know, I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to be delivering a baby, you know, today or tomorrow. I was packing my bags. I grabbed them. We headed out to the hospital. I go get checked in, get in there, and she tells me that we don't exactly want to start you on Pitocin right away. Let's admit you, monitor you for a few. I got in the gown. They put me on all of the monitors. And a little while later, one of the nurses came in. So I was on the, oh my gosh, I can't speak. They ended up starting Pitocin at around 4 in the morning, I think. They started me on the lowest dose. After they started me on the Pitocin, it was just kind of a waiting game to see how I'd react to the Pitocin. I got a few little contractions here and there, but nothing like major. And it was just kind of, you know, nothing really happened for a while. My mom came and visited me. They checked me a while later and I was at a 2. So I had made some progress, not much, but I had made some. Can we not? Hey, pillow. I was at a 2, so I had made a little bit of progress. Of course, in that time, the anesthesiologist came in and explained everything about the epidural. I wasn't sure if I was getting an epidural at that point, but they wanted that over with, so just in case, I was like, yeah, give me the epidural. They could just come in and do it, and the papers were already signed. Around probably, I want to say 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, my contractions started to pick up a little bit. They got pretty painful. a little while later, they were starting to get even stronger. So I requested that I get into the jacuzzi tub. After I had gotten out, they checked me again and I was at a 3. So I was really excited about that. I was like, yes, I'm progressing. It's really slow, but I'm still, you know, I'm still progressing. And like I said, it was just kind of a waiting game. Like nothing really happened. There were contractions here and there. And then my contractions started to die down. A few hours later, they checked me again. I think they checked me like 3 times and I was stuck at a 3. Like I would not dilate past 3. My OB came in and said, we could go in and break your waters and then it's like go time. You know, you have like a certain amount of time before the baby, you know, runs out of amniotic fluid and you have to get the baby out. So she's like, we could break your water, but I don't want to break your water. I don't feel like it's time for him to come out. Which of course in turn made me pretty upset. It made Daniel pretty upset. Not that I was, you know, really upset with her. I guess failed inductions are not as common as you would think. And so they said, why don't you go walk around for a bit, come back, we'll check you again. If you've progressed even ½ centimeter, we will keep you. So I walked around for a bit. My contractions were pretty much gone at this point. I got back into the room and they checked me again and I was still at a 3. I was pretty upset thinking, you know, I'm going into the hospital, being admitted, I'm gonna have a baby, I'm gonna walk out with a baby. And didn't walk out with a baby. My OB finally came in and said, you know, I know you're upset, but I don't think it's time for him to come out and I think we're just gonna have to send you home because you're not dilating. They ended up coming back in to give me my discharge papers. At that point, I was so hungry because they wouldn't let me eat anything. Jeez, child. And on the way home, Daniel told me, he's like, we can stop anywhere you want. I will get you anything you want to eat, because I had not eaten in like since 7 o'clock the next day, and we left at 5 p.m. So we ended up stopping at McDonald's and I got a Big Mac, which I don't really like Big Macs, but at that time I was like, just get me that. So I ate that, and of course I was also in pain, not really because I was contracting, but I was in a lot of pain because they checked me so many times. We get home and I just go through the rest of my day. I was in a lot of pain. I was really upset. All that good jazz. The next morning, I would say 6 a.m., I started actually contracting on my own. They weren't super strong. They weren't super close together. So I didn't think much of it. I was timing them, but they weren't even close enough together to, you know, think about going to the hospital. I didn't think I was going to go into labor before my OB left. No, sorry. I didn't think I was going to go into labor before, bless you, before my OB left. So, but I was like, whatever, if I go into labor, whoever delivers Oliver, it's fine. So yeah, I went through the whole day contracting pretty much. My mom came over for a bit. They started to get stronger and stronger, but they still weren't really that close together. The next day, which this would be the 7th, because let me think. He was due on the 3rd. My induction was the 4th. I went home the 5th. Yeah. So the 6th is when I woke up with contractions. By the time evening rolled around, it was probably around 8 or so. My contractions started getting very strong. I was bouncing on my, what do you call it? The exercise ball. I was just kind of changing positions. I went to take a shower, which helped a little bit, except for, you know, contractions, I guess, are hard when standing, by the way. Especially if you're standing in a slippery shower. So that was a little scary, but Daniel told me to try to lay down. That just made it 10 times worse. But it got to the point where it was like the middle of the night and I was not sleeping at all. I had called the labor and delivery department and I said, here's what's happening. Do you want me to come in? And she was like, let me talk to your OB or whatever, and we'll give you a call back. So about 10 minutes later, they called back, and my OB actually called back. And she said, we would like your contractions to be, I think she said 3 or so in a 10-minute span. So don't come in until then. And so I was timing them. I kept timing my contractions, and they were never 3 in a 10-minute span. So I was like, so do I not go in? And then it just got to the point, I think it was around 9 o'clock in the morning, it got to the point where they were so strong, I told Dano, I was like, we're going to the hospital, I'm done. Oliver's over there playing with a toy. So that's what that noise is. I'm like, this has to be it. This has to be, you know, the real deal. These contractions are so strong. So we drove into the hospital, and I went in and said, yeah, I think I'm in labor. So they called the labor and delivery, and a nurse came down, which is actually the nurse I had for my induction. By the way, she's so nice. She was really sad that she didn't get to see Oliver during the induction. She brought me back to my room and had me get dressed into a gown and put me on the monitor before they even admitted me. But she looked at me and she said, you are different. I'm pretty sure you're in labor. Oh, be careful, baby. Be careful. You don't want to bend those. She was monitoring my contractions. And remember how I said, my OB said, don't come in until they're 3 in a 10-minute span. And I said, they're not 3 in a 10-minute span. Well, she monitored my contractions and she said, your contractions are weird. I said, how so? She said, I was having big contraction, little contraction, big contraction, little contraction. So basically, I was having 4 contractions in 10 minutes. I was like, this has to be dilating me. This has to be doing something, right? And Daniel's like, I guess the worst they can do is tell you to go home again. Hi. So after I got settled in a little bit, she came back in and she checked me again. And hallelujah, I was at a 5. I really wanted to do this naturally. I really wanted to, you know, not have any medication. But because I labored at home for those 2 days and from the induction, I was so tired. I said, give me the epidural. Basically, about half an hour later, the anesthesiologist came in and gave me my epidural. I kind of had a mini anxiety attack when that happened because obviously I've never been in this situation before. I've never had an epidural. I've heard good and bad things about an epidural. So he came in and of course he gave me the shot back here, and then he administered a test run of the epidural to make sure I didn't react, like my body didn't react badly to it. And he was asking me all these questions. He's like, do you feel numb? Do you taste metal? Do you feel nauseous? And I just got so freaked out. I looked at the nurse and I was like, I'm gonna throw up. So she gave me a barf bag. I never actually threw up. The epidural started working, thankfully. So it was probably, so we got to the hospital about 10. It was probably by 12 they came in and checked me again, and I was at like a 7. And I was like, this is progressing really fast. I was just shaking from the epidural really bad. And I also had the puke bag in my hand because, you know, in case I needed to puke. I kind of felt like it for a while, but then it kind of went away. Hold on. My phone's ringing. Hello? Hello? He just woke up. Anyway, I was at a 7. He came in, checked me, I was at a 7. And I was like, oh, this is progressing fast. And so my contractions, I couldn't really feel my contraction at that point because I had the epidural, but I did have like what they call a hot spot, which is basically one side of your, where the epidural starts. Doesn't go completely numb, and you can still feel some like contractions. You can still feel pain, which, oh, be careful. I had a hot spot, which didn't really bother me. It wasn't that bad. Like I said, it was just kind of a waiting game. I was eating my ice chips. They wouldn't allow me to have water, but honestly, I just let the ice chips melt so I could drink the water. And then probably about, I want to say 3:40-ish, he came back in and checked me again, and he like left the room. Like he didn't even say anything. I was so confused. So he came back and he said, "You're about a 9." This point, it was almost 4 o'clock. He said, you're basically at a 9. And he said, we're gonna start pushing in, you know, like 20 minutes. I was like, okay. And all my family was there to support me. So he came back in, was getting everything ready. And he said, okay, let's push. My epidural, like my legs were still numb, but my whole abdomen, the epidural completely wore off. I could feel my contractions at the intensity that they were when I came into the hospital. So that kind of sucked, but I pushed through it. Then, about 20 or so minutes later, he was like, okay, we're gonna have a baby pretty soon. And I was at this point, I wasn't like pissed off, but I was like, I was done being pregnant. I was like, I want this baby out. And I was like, how soon is pretty soon? Please tell me that. I think 2 pushes later, he was out, and I pushed, I think, for only 25 minutes, and he was out. He popped out. He got put on my chest. He was here at 4:27 p.m. July 7th, 2018. And yeah, he was just so perfect. His head was misshapen a little bit, obviously, when he came out. But his head went back to like normal shape probably in 15 minutes. There was no real scratches or bruises or any trauma to him coming out. He was just perfect coming out. Of course he was swollen, like all babies are when they come out. But he got put on my chest. He immediately calmed down. Daniel and I were both super excited that our baby boy was here. Daniel was able to cut the umbilical cord. And that's the story of how we had our little Oliver, huh? Do you want to go to a garage sale? I love you. That will be today's video. Thank you guys for watching. And until the next vlog, which will probably be what's today, Thursday? Probably be Saturday. I still don't really know a upload schedule yet, but I will figure it out. We can say goodbye? Say goodbye. Wave. Wave. Say goodbye. Bye-bye. 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 Say bye-bye. Alright guys, thank you guys for watching, and until the next vlog.